Welcome to another edition of the NLT Municipal Golf Webinar Series. We're really excited to be joined by Andrew Peterson, a member of the PGA, who's president and CEO of the Alamo City Golf Trail. This is something that I've wanted to learn about for a long time. Um, I think it's potentially a great model for municipalities on how to manage multiple facilities. I think it's been a huge success story, but we'll learn more from Andrew. Andrew, thank you so much for taking time to join us. If you could go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Glad to be here and appreciate all the things that you guys do in the municipal golf space, and real honor to be here. Thanks for the warm introduction. As you mentioned, I'm a PGA member. I'm coming up on 25 years. I like to joke that I first gained my membership at age 14 before I started wearing reading glasses. I've been able to, very fortunate to kind of work in every golf environment there is. I cut my teeth at my first private club, which was an equity club. Really embraced by the membership, learned how to be a professional, worked for a couple of good mentors there. Then I went to work in the Colorado mountains in a resort town, and then spent a couple of years at two different private clubs that were both corporately owned and corporately managed from that aspect. And then made my way back down to San Antonio, Texas, where I am now, and worked at corporate daily fee hotel resort facility, and then have been with the Alamo City Golf Trail in the municipal golf space for the last dozen years. So, been very fortunate to have seen and touched every aspect of the golf working world. And I'm pleasantly pleased to say that the goal is the same at every golf environment. It's to get the golf ball in the hole in the fewest number of strokes.
Well, you didn't touch on the many awards that you've won, but you're very well decorated and highly thought of professional, and we're honored to have you. So, welcome. Let's dive right into. I know you weren't there from the very beginning of the Alamo City Golf Trail, but let's talk about what the state of the golf courses were in San Antonio in the early 2000s, and why was there a need for this organization?
Yeah, I think that's really a good foundation for the story of how we've developed. I wasn't here then, Will, so it's kind of unfair for me to say anything disparaging, but it's certainly I've been told, and it's fairly well fact that the golf courses. The word derelict is probably a little bit tough, but they were certainly worn out. There wasn't the same number of golf courses. We inherited a golf course 10 years ago. So there was the original seven. They were operating as a financial loss for the city. So they were operating in the red. And I think, as you know, when you got golf courses that are operating that aren't financially viable, there becomes this slippery slope as far as is mismanagement then and the golf course conditions deteriorate, the equipment deteriorates, the customer experience deteriorates. So the city leadership at the time, there was a deputy city manager who it was a golf fan. There were some city council members that were golf fans, and they recognized, hey, we've got to do something different. And this was really kind of at the onset of when municipalities were starting to dabble into private public partner golf foundations, organizations, those types of things that could offer alternatives to city ran golf courses. They hired a guy out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, who subsequently became the CEO, as my predecessor, to come down and do a study on some opportunities. He wrote up a study and gave it to the leadership of the city, and they kind of liked what he had to say. Well, they very much liked what he had to say. So they said, hey, why don't you form a nonprofit group to come down and manage the golf courses? And I'm giving you the abbreviated version, of
Yeah.
course, but that's really the impetus on how we came to fruition.
So prior to the Alamo City Golf Trail getting formed, um, there was the courses were being run by the city. There wasn't a management company. They were probably similar to a lot of city-run courses where there just wasn't the expertise to really manage them in a proper way that was going to drive revenue and investment and all that sort of stuff. And your predecessor recognized sort of a different path forward, that the city bought into it. And in 2007, that's when the control of the courses moved over to the to you guys. Does I have that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's when the management agreement was inked. Was in May of 2007. There was some initial seed money that was provided to uh, reimagine at least Brackenridge Park, is where my office sits today. It's the oldest public access golf course in the state of Texas. Hosted the Texas Open from 1922 to 1959, most years, anyways. Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson, all the luminaries of the game won at Brackenridge Park. So really cool history. But Brackenridge Park Golf Course had really fallen on hard times. So it was renovated in 2008, back to the original, mostly back to the original A.W. Tillinghast design. So that's kind of where we started with that project. And that gave us a little bit of momentum then to start getting a loyalty within the golf community that, hey, this Alamo City Golf Trail seems to know what they're doing. And that's really where we blossomed from that position there.
Yeah, and so that original money for that initial renovation was provided by the city?
Yeah, it was provided by the city, which um, we wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise, because that's just how far behind the golf courses were. And certainly not throwing any shade at the parks department that managed the golf courses. They did absolutely the best they could at that time, but all golf courses back in those days were having a tough time.
Yeah, no doubt. And certainly coming out of '07 and '08, it was probably even tougher. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I guess, do you have do you know the number of what that renovation cost back then?
Well, it was we didn't spend the money, or the organization didn't spend the money that we probably should have at the time. It was about $4 million, but that was a wall to wall irrigation,
Yeah,
and as many entities know that are trying to remodel today, it's typically always going to be upwards of 10 to really move much earth at all.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I guess that money, this whole thing came about because there was buy-in from some people in the city government
Yeah.
who realized that this was important. And it's one thing to hand over the reins to the golf courses, but to put that money up front, that seed money up front, to really gain momentum. I mean, that's a huge win, right?
So the initial agreement with the city was to the first 10-year tranche of the contract was that we would split operating proceeds. Well, when the former group that was operating the golf courses, the city's parks department, was operating them as a deficit, it was going to take a long time to turn that steamship around. So 50% of operating profits that were next to nothing didn't allow the organization to really make much traction. So that was scrubbed pretty early on, and it was like, okay, now why don't you just repay the deficit that was in the golf fund? And once that was cleared, then the agreement was kind of rewritten to the fact that, okay, Alamo City Golf Trail, you keep the operating proceeds, but we're just going to ask that you use those proceeds to reinvest back into the golf courses. And that has really been the home run for both entities ever since, and have allowed us to really go fast forward with improving the golf courses.
So was that those terms changed after the initial 10 years, or were those terms renegotiated during that initial 10-year?
Yeah, the kind of the first deal where it was sharing operating proceeds, that was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of year six, five, six, something like that. And then it was, okay, repay the fund. That was probably changed somewhere around the end of the 10th year.
And was the second lease a 10-year lease too, or was it
No,
longer?
there were two 5-year options. So we're in the last 5-year option. We've got about 2 years left on that. So kind of in the preliminary stages with the city on how we move forward with a new term sheet or a new agreement on what we look like to carry forward.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll circle back to that
Yeah, sure.
because I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Yeah, got it.
So when this was established, oversight obviously must have been a huge discussion point between the city and the organization. I know the board has an interesting structure. Can you walk us through the structure and who sits on the board and how it works?
Yeah, sure. Part of the management agreement is that we had to have clearly defined bylaws The bylaws call for a board of directors that has oversight. They're essentially, I like to call the board of directors my partners, but they're ultimately my boss, and really comprised of some awesome people. The structure, to answer your question directly, there's two City of San Antonio staff members that are board members. So we've got the parks director and the deputy city finance director. So two high ranking city officials that are appointed by the city manager. Then we've got six board members that are elected by or appointed by city council. And they rotate on 2 year terms. Most of them serve about 4 years and then they rotate off. So kind of a nice diverse group that really works well with the city, and that's kind of the city structure on how they kind of self govern or help us govern is with the two city staff members and the six city council appointed members, and then there's the seven at large members, and many of these are our original board members that have now served for coming on 18 years. And they were some industry leaders that offered some level of professional services that would help us really kickstart the organization and grow from a beginning. So when I say professional services, there was legal, tax accounting, CPA, insurance, marketing. We had a gentleman that had done some golf course design work, golf course irrigation work, which these people lent their professional skills to really take us from this orphan of an organization into a startup, and has kind of helped move us forward into the next, the future, so to speak.
Yeah. And um, those people, I mean, this is a volunteer board. I mean, for,
It's a volunteer board. The 15, we provide them golf access,
yeah.
and we've got some people that play regularly and some people that play periodically. Might be a little bit of an overstatement, but I think that they're all vested into what we do, care passionately about the product that we produce, and we all drink the same Kool-Aid. I call all 15 people my friends. I could pick up the phone and call any one of them, and I think they would hopefully answer. And I think that they feel the same way about me. And I'm super blessed that I have 15 people that I really love and support, and hopefully they feel the same way.
Yeah. I guess that sort of leads into the actual mission of the nonprofit, right? I mean, you guys are not a golf management company. That's not what this is. It's, it's a different mission, right?
I like to think that we all kind of are rowing the boat in the same direction, and that I like to say that we're really purpose based at this point in time, where we care about the product, we care about the user, we care about the community, and we really care about each other. And I think that's been our secret to success.
How you've developed trust with the city to operate somewhat independently.
Well, I think the fact that there's a couple of city San Antonio key staff members on our board um, recognize what we're doing. When I became CEO, one of the first things I did is I wanted to take those two individuals around to our facilities and show them our opportunities. And when we went back to see our maintenance facilities, our golf cart storage facilities, our cart paths, and those types of things, they recognized that there were some big opportunities there. So when you start working to repair those and replacing those, I think, wow, they recognize this is coming out of the Alamo City Golf Trail's coffers, not the city's coffers. And I, I'm a very transparent person. I communicate well, and that's an important aspect of what we do. So if they need something, I'm quick to respond. If I can help them with something, um, we're quick to work together. And I think that that's created the harmony, which has created the trust that's been important to move us forward.
In the lease itself, were there any guardrails that were put in place to kind of sort of shape how things move forward?
Well, as part of the bylaws, the two city staff members, I guess, have what they could call a kill vote, in that if they voted no for something, it doesn't pass. So there could be 13 support and two that would say no. That's not the way we should move forward as a city. They could utilize that, but I think that we communicate and have open discussions where I certainly don't want to do anything that would violate or ruin that partnership. So I think it's worked very harmoniously from that capacity.
That's great. Um, Well, let's maybe transition, unless there's anything about governance or structure you think we've not touched on that you'd want to share. We can move on to some of the projects that you guys have done and how you guys go about prioritizing and budgeting for them.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Since taking over in 2007, you guys have consistently invested in renovation projects. Most recently, just this past year, you did the San Pedro driving range in Par Three. Maybe I'll let you walk it through like the most recent improvements, and then we can talk about how you guys accomplished so much in the last, say, 5 years.
Yeah, I better go with the high level things because I could get lost in the weeds with
Yeah.
talking about some of the nuanced things that we've done. We're upwards of over $35 million in projects that we've done since inception, and a high percentage of that coming in the last 7 or 8 years, simply because we've had more proceeds to be able to do things. Where in the first 8, 9, 10 years, we were just trying to pick off the low hanging fruit. Um, yeah, to your point, this past year, actually just 3 or 4 weeks ago, we reopened the Willow Springs Golf Course, which is right across the street from the Frost Bank Center, where our beloved San Antonio Spurs play. That golf course had gone through a tough time the last couple of years, so we shut it down for 4 or 5 months and regrassed it, fairways, approaches, tee boxes, greens, and surrounds with a platinum paspalum, which many people know as a seaside grass, but it plays well with recycled water. We use the recycled water at 6 of our 8 golf courses, so it's really turned out to be a home run. It just is lush. We removed all the bunkers and took those bunkers and created some cool mounding and concepts where they're all grass now. So it's become a lot more playable for golfers of every skill level. So that's kind of been the latest and greatest. But you mentioned San Pedro, so circle to that. We spent a couple $100,000 there building people call it a putt course. I like to think of a little bit more mature than that, and that it's a putting course, but it's an 18-hole concept that's got some really cool shapes and movement to it. We just had a summer series of a putting contest with aces and hole-in-ones and different types of contests that we would do on a Tuesday. But that's part of a larger concept with the San Pedro facility. And credit goes to my predecessor, Jim Roshek, for the design, the original design. In 2016, it was this old beat-down driving range, tin can lights around it, a little 9-hole rinky-dink golf course that went around it, an old shack that was just about ready to fall over. And we spent $4 or $5 million there reimagining the entire facility, put in some stadium lights, reworked the golf course, made it flow the other opposite direction, expanded out the footprint of it, built more of a state-of-the-art practice facility and a real clubhouse. And then in the subsequent 7 or 8 years, we've just kept adding to it simulators and a teaching facility and a expanded parking lot and additional lights and enhancements to the golf course. And now it's our busiest place and probably the busiest place on planet Earth. And I think if there's any golf operators in the room, that little 9-hole golf course is going to do 70,000 rounds this year. So it just shows how busy it is. And fortunately, because of the lighting system, we're able to utilize it till midnight in the summertime. So really a home run for those people that like to play golf after dark. But it's got a thriving bar and grill and a robust teaching center. And we've got an indoor simulator. And it's just a mecca of a place. And it's something we're extremely proud of. But we also redid our Cedar Creek golf course, which is kind of the championship golf course within our portfolio. We've hosted this past spring, we hosted a qualifier for the US Open. It's the home of the San Antonio Open. And we just most recently held the City Amateur there. So a real test of golf, probably if not the hardest, one of the hardest golf courses in the city if you want to play it from the back tee. Reworked the golf course, though, expanded out the greens, just really enhanced the original footprint. A couple of years before that, we did similar work at a Riverside golf course and similar work 2 years before that, our Almost Basin golf course. So some very comprehensive projects. But when we're doing these projects, not only are we doing the golf course, but we're doing some infrastructure in clubhouse work, cart barn work, maintenance facility work, on-course restroom work, those types of things, to where it's a comprehensive remodel where it benefits it and will make it work and run for us for a long, long time.
Maybe you could walk us through a little bit about how the decision-making process goes in order to sort of allocate funds to these facilities or these projects. Like, obviously you've got to recognize a need, but then sort of walk us through, how you recognize that need and then how the process works to where you get to the point where you're building a putting course or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's easy to recognize the need.
Yeah.
It's and that's ultimately our mission is to make the golf courses better and to improve the golf experience. And product of our success being that we've made a little bit of money and we want to purposely allocate those resources. So I've got a couple of different committees that I work with. We've got a finance committee within our board, a long range planning committee, and a construction committee that kind of helps me steer through where they best see this goes. But because of some changeover with our board, I think that they've got a great deal of trust in my vision and what we see to be those biggest needs. But I'm fiscally conservative by nature, and I think that I'm a little bit immune to debt. So I try to pay for some of these things as we go, which, as operators know, and you yourself know, Will, these things get drastically expensive.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we've got to have the coffers to be able to support that. So that planning, I've got a kind of a 10-year clock on where I see things going forward, but kind of move that 10-year worth of projects into 4 years, and then kind of can be a little bit fluid based on allocating resources if there's any immediate needs. But I'm built out for the next 4 years as far as where we see allocating our capital dollars.
Yeah. And then obviously things come up, right? These are golf courses, these are living, breathing things,
That's
things
right.
break. How do you, I assume you guys must have a pretty good, healthy reserve for sort of short-term maintenance projects that come up versus the long-term big projects?
Yeah, and I think that's yeah, absolutely. And knock on wood, we've got great leadership within our board and have helped shaped and steer that with me. I don't I wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing that I'm running on zero and trying to make payroll the next week. So we try to keep 90 days of operating expenses in the bank, which is healthy for us. So we're a big machine and lots of expenses, so that we've got a fair amount of cash on hand. But I think that as we see these projects develop and come to fruition, I've got to create a budget which would allow for being able to continue to move forward with keeping cash on hand in reserve, while also being able to handle a lot of these projects in a cash flow basis.
Yeah. Um, and, unlike a lot of other public-private partnerships that have gotten a lot of press in recent years, including National Links Trust, I mean, you guys, your funds, there's no fundraising. This is strictly from operations of the golf courses that these projects are being
Yeah,
funded.
that's exactly right. It's just operational proceeds, and this is kind of where I pat ourselves on the back, or certainly my teammates, in that we've got a shared vision, and that we're going to do the best we can, because doing these projects is it's thrilling. It's so satisfying to be able to say, "Hey, Joe Public, Mr. Golfer, we're going to do everything we can to make your golf experience better." And I can put my head on the pillow at night, sleeping well, thinking we are making a difference for the city of San Antonio, and I love it.
Yeah. I guess um, this might be a good time to sort of talk about community partners. I assume, organizations like First Tee use your facilities, and I'm guessing you probably work with youth on course. Can you just talk a little bit about the impact that you're having in the community through these facilities?
Well, I'm a product of public municipal golf in northern Minnesota as a kid, and I think we call it a season pass. The season in northern Minnesota on the tip of Lake Superior was 3 months, so it was really cheap. I think it was $65 or something like that, where you could play all summer long, and we'd play 36 holes or 54 holes in the long days of the summer. And I've got a heart for youth golf and a passion for developing kids, and heck, they're our future customers, so we better start with them. So yeah, we've got 45 different middle schools or high schools that we work with, some local colleges, Youth on Course, of course, First Tee of Greater San Antonio. Their complex is across the street from where we are at Brackenridge, and they utilize some of our facilities. And I help support, or the company helps support them and their endeavors. We partner with a couple of other youth programs local to San Antonio, the Flamingo Club, On Par Golf, awesome partners, great people. And I think that, yeah, that's important for us to fly the flag of youth golf, and our commitment there is hopefully well documented, and I think people recognize that.
Yeah, and I'm sure these facilities are used by any number of nonprofits for fundraising tournaments and the like, not just golf, but all across the sort of spectrum of
Oh my gosh,
business.
our our programming for fundraising tournaments has gone through the roof, and I think it's not necessarily because we have the greatest facilities, because quite honestly, San Antonio's really got awesome golf courses. There's some tremendous operators in town, but they've gotten really expensive. And I think, as most operators would recognize, having a charity golf tournament where it's going to be a 5.5 hour round, and there's a lot of setup and a lot of tear down and a lot of staffing, from an operational perspective, it's not as easy or not as good to do something like that versus just cranking out foursome after foursome after foursome. So we subsequently picked up a little bit of that business, and we're proud to do it because we want to be there for anybody. We're the everyman's club.
Yeah, it's great. Um, yeah, it's just it's really impressive what you guys have done, and I'm sure the investments in the facilities. Well, I guess let's talk a little bit about the investments in facilities and what they've done to greens fees, because National Links Trust, our at our core, affordable and accessible golf is really really important. So, just talk a little bit about your greens fee structure, what you're trying to accomplish through it, and then also what these projects cost a lot of money, and so and there's probably a big difference before and after. And how do you weigh all those things when coming up with your greens fee structure?
Well, I think we have to kind of go back a little bit in that there's a life cycle on your golf course. I like to call, if you want to use a basketball or football analogy, there's a shot clock or a play clock on how long your greens are going to last, or how long your fairways or bunkers, or any aspect of your golf course for that matter. And if you don't have a long-term agenda or outlay of how you're going to replace those things, you'll just fall behind. So I have to kind of put the calculator to it and understand I've got to make X each year in order to keep moving forward. Well, if my operating expenses continue to go up and my payroll continues to go up, my NOI needs to be X. So my green fee, so it's just a formula for it. But I've always believed that as long as we're giving more each year, or each time we subsequently do a price increase, the public's pretty accommodating to it. And I think our trajectory, our inflationary rate of where we've gone with prices, is less than some of the other local courses, where it's important that people recognize that we can't stay stagnant. And I think kind of a fun story or narrative is that we've got a lot of seasoned golfers in the city of San Antonio. It's a retirement community, and there's people that are later on in their advanced years of their golfing life. Well, if we take their favorite golf course out of play for a year to put a massive enhancement or renovation into it, they're like, you're taking my favorite golf course out of play. I might not be able to play it again before I can't, stop playing golf. And then they recognize that, hey, if you're spending $6 million in that golf course, there's a strong chance that it's going to be more expensive to play when we reopen it. And I just have to be very honest with the answer in that, sir, I'm not renovating that golf course for you as much as I am renovating it for your grandkids. And I think when you put that horizon or that scope on it, it allows people to understand why you need to increase the rates. But I've been somewhat consistent with where we've gone. We try to increase rates just a little bit every year rather than trying to take periodic big steps here and there. So if we go up a dollar or two every year, that's been the typical cadence of our approach.
Yeah. So you're looking at the ROI or the NOI. You're also looking at where you are in comparison to other public facilities in the market, and trying to come out in a place where you're providing a service, to the city at good golf at a reasonable rate.
Some of the most, you're exactly right. One of the most flattering things I hear or read, there's a robust social media community within San Antonio that likes to talk about the golf courses, and it can sometimes be a little bit of a contentious group. And I think it's great from the standpoint of hey, everyone needs to be held accountable to having the highest standards, whether it's fair or not. But we've got a couple of golf courses that are really fun to play and really in pretty good shape right now. And many times they get compared against golf courses that are 2 and 3 times more expensive. And I always kind of scratch my head like, hey, we don't have 6 holes. We've got 18 holes. That other golf course has 18 holes, but we're a third of the price. And I think if people want to put us in the same breath as a golf course that's 2 or 3 times as expensive, boy, I'll take that any day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good way of looking at it for sure. Um, let's just change gears a little bit, and talk about, well, I guess before we change gears, let's talk about how the players have received the projects. I mean, I assume you talked about the sort of elderly, I should say, older people who are worried about not coming
Yeah,
back. Um,
careful there, Will.
I'm sure, when they come back, assume they make it that long. Uh, what's their reaction? And then also, do they see like that this is going to help their grandkids? I mean, is that, what's the reception to these projects?
Well, there's obviously there's lots of different perspectives. Uh, we've got people that have been playing our golf courses well long before Alamo City Golf Trail was in existence. So far past 18 years. But those that have been really committed to us for the last 18 years have seen the evolution. And I think they are really, really, really grateful and very appreciative to it. So the inflationary rate that they've seen has been not an issue at all. Where there's, as most people are aware, lots of new people that play, and they're a little bit more of a, what have you done for me lately type of community. And I think that's good too. We need everyone and want everyone to weigh in on what we do. But I think when you talk about a product of your own success, we've done so much the last 6 or 7 years that people keep asking, okay, what's next? What's next? What are you going to do next? And how great is this going to be? And this needs to be done. And it's many times where I've got to say, hey, let's slow our roll a little bit. We've got to go self-paced here. And I know my staff from the standpoint of we've done so much that there's a lot of construction fatigue right now, in that you have a golf course that's shut down for almost a year or around a year. That puts a lot more stress on the other courses in our network because they have to take the shoulder of that business. So, and then of course our team that's boots on the ground when we're renovating a golf course, that takes a lot out of you when you're just pounding on the contractor and trying to get things done and working hard to make sure that's a successful project. So I think we're kind of in a system right now, or a place right now, where we wouldn't mind taking a little bit of a deep breath and saying, let's operate with our full complement of golf courses and let's just be operators rather than contractors for a while.
Yeah. So, uh, I'm not going to ask you what's next because you just answered it, and it sounds like you get annoyed by the question. But
Well, no, I could talk about that all day long.
I'm
Hell,
teasing, teasing.
I got a 10-year list of projects that we
Yeah,
want to
I'm
get
sure.
to. But I
I'm
think they're going to be projects that will allow us to open or be open. So yeah, I mentioned it before, but we've got to really tackle vertical infrastructure. So this coming year, we're going to spend about $2 million just on cart path work. We've got old broken asphalt at some of our golf courses. We'll rip that out and put nice concrete tracks around that's got curbs and really be able to control access and ingress egress a little bit more. But we've got maintenance facilities and cart storage facilities and restrooms and bridges and drainage and irrigation and all those things that we need to tackle at most of our golf courses in one capacity or another as we move forward.
uh, to date, how much of that work has been done, or have you guys been mostly focusing on the golf courses themselves?
Yeah, yeah, it's obviously the golf course itself. I
Yeah.
think that that's what people play, uh, but I'm kind of a first impression, last impression too. And I think if you come in on a cart path or a parking lot that doesn't have potholes and it's well lit, that just kind of adds to the experience that you have. So it's tackling everything, but keeping a keen focus on the fact that hey, people are looking to play on greens that are good and tee boxes that are level.
Yeah. Um, and then a little bit of lessons learned from the process, things you would do differently. We talked briefly before everyone got on about the choice of grass. Anything else that you you know
Well, I
taken away
think
with
that
this?
as long as your finances are available, it's just don't skimp on anything. Just get the best irrigation system you can, get the best pump station that you can. Um, Expand your tee box size. Heck, we've got to be thinking about what our potential is rather than what it's been in the past. And I say that in the more team space you have, the more wear and tear it can take, the wider the cart paths you can build, just so you can handle future traffic um, that may expand. Now, we're nearly at capacity, but we certainly want to be able to have the infrastructure that can support more growth as we move forward. And I'm just kind of a believer that if you're going to do it right.
Yeah, that's we've got these big projects coming up in DC, and it's daunting when you look at the numbers and you start thinking, oh, maybe we can save some money here and save some money there, and it's probably not the wise way to go. It's
Well, I think there's in many cases there's opportunities to do things in phases,
yeah,
and I think it's just you've got to have level of discipline, and I think a level of patience where you've got to realize that hey, this is going to be in flux for a period of time, a season in life, and until we can get the financing in place or at least the cash flow in place to be able to get it done.
yeah. All right. Well, now let's transition a little bit from projects to your organization. And I should have it in front of me. We've been referring to everything as the Alamo City Golf Trail, but the name of the nonprofit, when you look it up, is actually it's the Municipal Golf Association of San Antonio. Do I
Yeah,
have?
that's exactly right. So MGASA, and that's our kind of our official name that's on tax records and those types of things. But we DBA is Alamo City Golf Trail. We wanted to have something that maybe kind of took the lid off of municipal golf and made us a little bit more of a professional organization and something people could relate to. So um, and I really push hard. Hey, we're Alamo City Golf Trail. We're not Municipal Golf Association, but we're the same thing. And that's I'll go by either name.
Well, to me, I guess maybe the differentiation is that the Alamo City Golf Trail is the golf courses, whereas the other is sort of your organization. It sounds like you look at it slightly differently, but just for these purposes, tell us a little bit about the staff. What's the size of it? How does it? How do you compare to sort of pre-pandemic levels? I mean, have things? I assume things have ramped up. Talk to us a little bit about the organization itself.
Yeah, we're about 325 strong across the trail and through our administrative office. Probably going back to pre-pandemic, if you will, 2019, we were probably 250. So that's a pretty good growth. Um,
I guess the breakdown of that, sort of golf course operations versus management, I guess would be. Um,
Well, we've got a relatively small administrative team,
yeah,
and when I say administrative, that's accounting, human resources, some back office personnel, marketing. We've got a call center, but most of our team is kind of in the battlefield, if you will, and boots on the ground. So we haven't really changed our management model, if you will, hierarchical, I suppose, kind of that pyramid shape. But we've gotten a little wider and a little flatter in that we've been able to add people that are more job specific. And I think in the early days, and even when I first came on board in 2013, there was a lot of duplicity, or at least we were trying to do multiple things. So I was the director of operations from day hire, but I did agronomy, and I helped with marketing, and did some business management, and was in the weeds a little bit with human resources, and now we've got real strong professionals that are really in those roles that are really really good. So when I say we've been able to grow professionally, we've just been able to add positions that enable us to be a bigger machine, a faster machine, and a little bit more of a professional machine.
And that growth is from the organization, that's uh, due to, higher revenue and basically the opportunity to hire more people to do these jobs
Yeah,
specifically.
no question, Will, and it was kind of a little bit of a chicken before the egg because I've known, and fortunately I've had a little bit of the corporate golf experience to recognize what positions are really beneficial, and business development and marketing, and a good agronomic department are really crucial to being able to function. But having a really robust equipment manager and a golf cart fleet maintenance manager, and had extra people in our accounting department, extra people in our HR department, expanded call center to be able to take delivery on providing tea times and those types of things, a bigger IT department that can handle the bandwidth and support our infrastructure from a computer system. It's those types of things that have just been able to make us a little bit more robust and a little bit quicker on our feet.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but it's 8 courses. It's a big network, a big group. Can you just talk quickly about sort of the org chart? You have a director of agronomy over all of them, and then a superintendent at each course and pros.
Yeah,
Just
you
real
you
quick.
you you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly the way it's structured. We've got a director of agronomy who's been with us for 7 8 years now. Has some great experience. He's got an assistant director of agronomy that also functions as our equipment manager. That's got a maintenance background, but also knows agronomy very well. They've got a superintendent that at each one of our facilities. We've got an assistant superintendent at each facility, and now we're trying to branch out to make sure that we've got a spray tech and an irrigation tech, and the different people in place, an equipment manager, a mechanic then at each place to be able to function. We've got a project superintendent that can do some special projects for us. And then on the operations side, we've got a kind of a similar counterpart, a director of golf operations that's got an assistant operations manager, and then a golf course manager then at each facility that report upwards to this individual.
Yeah. Um, Talk a little bit about the culture of the organization. How would you describe it, and what have you done to build that or maintain it?
Well, this is kind of a topic that's close to my heart because I care deeply about people, and I think when I became CEO 7 8 years ago, that was hey, it's important that I recognize that human capital is really the most important aspect, the attribute of Alamo City Golf Trail and being successful. And so, building a team meant that we had to invest in our talent, and we had to train them, we had to reward them, and we had to appreciate them. And that's really close to my heart because I care deeply about people and want people to be successful. So we've tried to really lift up from the bottom, if you will, rather than support down or push down from the top. And I couldn't be more blessed. I'm a collaborator, and want people to collaborate and want people to communicate. And I think that probably the thing I'm most proud of is that we've got an organization right now of people they're all drinking the same Kool-Aid. They're all trying to march in the same direction. They really care about the people that they work with and the product that we put out, and they're there for each other, and they're there for the community.
Yeah, that's great. I'm pretty much towards the end of my questions for you, but so I do want to open it up for some Q&A. So if anyone's got any questions for Andrew, please dump them in the chat and we'll get to them. Are there any big topics about what's going on there at San Antonio that we haven't covered that you think we should touch on? It really is a great story, and I know I've learned a ton about what's going on down there.
I think if you would have asked me, Will, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, if I ever see myself in a role to manage municipal golf courses, and I probably would have laughed at you because I wanted to be the stuffy country club pro that wore cool shoes and played in all the pro-ams, and my team would fold sweaters, and the proverbial country club jockey. And I'm really honestly quite blessed that I've come into this role and able to do what I do now. I don't always feel like a PGA professional where I'm not playing the game nearly as much as I would like, and that's my own fault. It's not because I can't. It's just because I don't. But I'm a businessman now. I'm into different things, and I see myself a little bit different than I did when I started. But I think what we do matters with the Alamo City Golf Trail. I think it matters within the community. I'm super blessed to have the partners and the friends that I do within the city. City of San Antonio, for those that haven't been here before, is awesome. The government in the city leadership within the city of San Antonio itself, awesome. They've awesome vision for the city. It's only getting better. And I think that our relationship with the city is such that they want to see us successful because it lifts up the city and it elevates the standard of the city. And I think that that's been such a good partnership in that it supports tourism. It's an amenity for the city when people come here to play our golf courses, and just super blessed to have the relationship that we do with everyone involved in our organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think every person who's probably on this believes in the sort of power of golf as a change agent and just as a wonderful amenity for people to enjoy themselves, to get together as a community with their family and friends. And I'm sure every day you go out and see people enjoying your courses has got to be incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, I'm 30 years into being a golf pro, and I know this sounds super cliche, but it's like, oh, I've never worked a day in my life, and maybe now I have to work a little bit versus some of the earlier days, and it takes on a little bit different meaning. But I can open up my office window and I'm looking down on the 18th green at Brackenridge Park. And if there's ever a time where I've looked at a screen too long, is I'm going to go hop on a golf cart and go cruise around the golf course, or I'm going to go hop in my car and drive over to one of our other properties and just go greet the staff and say hi to the golfers that day. And that to me is pretty darn rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I've got a question, and I don't want to drag you into our issues here in DC, but I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna ask the question, and I don't know if it's an issue, been an issue down there at all for you guys, but this is from Paula Edwards. So we at Rock Creek, our project in DC, there was a decent amount of discussion about lights at the driving range. Um, and I guess the question is what is your experience as far as environmental impact, either playing until midnight or lighting ranges? Has there been any concern, or what have you seen? You might not have anything to add to this, but I did want to answer.
Well, I think Paula's question is perfect because when we reopened San Pedro with these really bust stadium lights, we're like Yankee Stadium where you could see your ball fly 300 yards. They also were at a little bit of a trajectory where they pointed up towards a very nice neighborhood within the San Antonio community. And they kindly said that they didn't really appreciate it, especially as they're trying to sleep and the lights are peering in their bedroom windows at 11 o'clock at night. So trying to be good neighbors, we changed the angle on them, and it created a good compromise. But I think that something that we had to do a little research with is because that property is relatively close to the San Antonio airport, that we had to make sure that we were within our permitting rights and had all of our ducks in a row before we installed the lights.
Yeah. It's certainly good, it's it is nice to be able to provide that service for people to be able to play after dark, after they've gotten off work, or certainly in the summer at San Antonio and probably in DC, it's cooler at night, but there
Mhm.
are a lot of considerations when trying to do that. So it sounds like you guys are trying to be good neighbors and doing the right thing. So a question from Hugh Smith, and this goes back to a little bit of what we touched base on, and this might be a little bit of a different because I think the way you guys are set up, this might be a little bit less of a concern. How do you balance the need for revenue and community engagement? So how do the sort of working with organizations like Youth on Course and First Tee, sometimes that gives up revenue. you're not maxing out your revenue, but you are doing a good thing for the community and getting people into the game of golf. And is that important to the city to have that community engagement aspect as you're thinking about making these investments and working with the city on these investments?
Yeah, I mean that's a super question because we look at that organizationally as a team is hey I'm a joking earlier about what an advocate I was for junior golf, but I also recognize that that surrenders potential revenue. So I think it's understanding where your soft spots are and your yield times, and really understanding where you can be dynamic with where you place those people. But ultimately that falls on us and our team to be able to schedule and plan and of course budget for these things so we can be able to support all these. And of course, I factor all these things into our annual budget. And I think that supporting these programs does come with an expense. And sometimes you have to pass that expense on to other consumers. But if that's the way that we need to move forward with that, I think it's a good trade-off. And I'm certainly not going to change my position or my stance on that community engagement and being able to do those things to better the whole.
Yeah. And I guess sort of a follow up to that is though, how does the city think about these programs? I mean, do they realize that these programs are part of the reason why golf is an important amenity for their citizens? Or are you guys have they sort of you built enough trust that they understand that you're going to do the right thing for both the city's finances and also the community, and you're going to manage it in a way that's going to sort of maximize yield on both fronts?
Yeah, certainly the hierarchy of the city staff with the two board members that we have, I know they are supportive and report back about the things that we do for youth golf. But when I do have a chance to interface with some of the local politicians, the city council members, that's one of the first questions that they'll ask is, "Oh, do you support youth, or what are you doing for the youth?" And I'll say, "Yes, bang, bang, bang. These are the things that we're doing." And I think it's kind of a aha moment, so to speak, that they're very pleased to hear that, oh, you are doing these different initiatives. Oh, you are growing the game, and you do understand what that means. And I think that reiterating that and kind of planting that seed and communicating with the political thought leaders in San Antonio is important from that standpoint. And I'm not one to necessarily beat ourselves on the chest or pat our back, but we also have to tell that story as well. So putting that in social media content and putting our names on things and putting our names in different marketing opportunities and supporting these different causes is always part of our mission.
That's great. I think one last question, unless we get another one in real quick. What has worked with familiarizing young people of the various careers like yours affiliated with the golf industry?
You might repeat that again. I'm not
Yeah,
sure I was.
it's basically a question about workforce development and introducing people from the community to the various opportunities that the game of golf has from an employment standpoint.
Well, I'm obviously as we mentioned early on, I'm a proud PGA professional, and I'm trying to bring as many PGA professionals into our network as possible. And of course, I want them to have the same position or stance that I do. Is let's develop more people that want to be in the golf industry. And it doesn't mean you need to be a PGA professional. It just means you have to have a passion for service, and you have to have a passion for the game of golf. That could come through agronomy, it could come through marketing, and heck, we've got our controller, our business manager is a PGA professional too. So it comes in all different styles. But I pay for Alamo City Golf Trail, pays for advanced development for golf management, for becoming a PGA professional. We offer scholarship programs through our employees and dependents of employees for further education. We've got different training opportunities that we do on a regular basis throughout the trail system. We do all kinds of training in the agronomy side. So, yeah, I mean, I think the more advanced and the improved and more robust and more skill set that we can give to our staff, the better. And I'm all about it.
That's great. Well, Andrew, this has been a great discussion. I really appreciate it. I've learned so much, and I hope those who are joined us and will watch this at a later date will also learn. I think what you guys are doing can be a model for other communities. And I think we talked a little bit about this before. I mean, I guess if people reach out to you and say can I do this in my own community? I guess we'll end with the first thing that they should do. And what is that?
You better get some buy-in from this from the city or from the municipality that you're engaged with, because ultimately they hold the keys to the car, and they want to see their car go further and faster. But they're ultimately going to have to be the ones that decide whether they're going to transfer title and give you car access.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not just handing over your car to a 16-year-old without making sure they can drive.
You better vet the driver first.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll get to meet in person here before too long.
Thanks, Will. I appreciate the honor to be on your show, and look forward to connecting again.
Thanks, Andrew.
Take care.